I have
well, to
in
be
transport,
brutally honest with you,
in
a lot of people think that this is thoroughly disreputable. That what the Greens were out primarily was jobs for the boys and the girls,
I think,
or one of the and the girl. That you have 6 TDs and 5 of you would have been in held ministerial office in the course of this Parliament.
I think it's fantastic for people who are elected, who have the honour of serving in the Oireachtas, to serve as Ministers of State or to serve in Cabinet. I think it makes absolute sense. It makes it a lot easier to implement Green Party policies, whether it be in creating jobs or sustainable transport.
Well, we know the jobs are being created. Jobs for the Greens.
Jobs much more in addition to that. If you look at the new jobs...
Do you think that you'll get a job now will in any way save your seat in Dunleary next time?
I have no illusions about the huge challenge that there is for any one of us, for anyone in government to be re-elected, whether during this period in time or at any other period. It is not, there is no such thing as a safe seat, certainly in politics, certainly in the Green Party. But look, Vincent, I'm delighted to have been in public life for 19 years. I'm delighted to have contested 5 elections and to have won 4 of them. It's an honour. It's a privilege. It really is, you know. The other evening...
it would have been a great privilege for you to have done a secret deal whereby you got into Cabinet after 2.5 years.
I think that's, again, Vincent, you're taking out the dagger here, and I don't know what it is that the Greens did to you at some stage in your past. But Vincent, look, I'm in government to achieve results. I sat down today.
Obviously,
I sat down today. Vincent,
you get a job,
if you look at the new
you get a driver,
government,
you get a car. You get a pension, you get increased salary, fantastic.
I don't get a car, and you know...
You do get a car.
What, Vincent?
You get money for a car.
Not as far as I know as I know. And you know what? I'm Minister for State with responsibility for sustainable transport and travel. I'm going to do my best not to take 2 drivers and see how that goes.
Not to take 2 drivers?
Yeah.
Oh, you'll just have 1 driver? Fantastic.
No, not to take...
Fantastic.
Not to take
oh, my God, you won't have 2 drivers.
Vincent.
My God, that's well done.
I was just... Vincent, I'm thinking that I'm not often on your show, and I'm kind of realising that I'd love to talk about our conference. I'd love to talk about my new responsibilities.
I'm sure you would like to talk about anything like that. And we invited Patricia McKenna on the programme this evening, and you made it known you wouldn't come on if she was on the programme.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
And why was that?
Because, look, I've been on programmes with Patricia in the past, and we just end up having a flaming row. I don't think that brings us any further along.
You use your position, your newly obtained position, to bully people like us into dropping somebody who's organised for the programme.
I would have probably said this to you if I was a city councillor, Vincent. The convention in politics is that you don't have 2 party colleagues having a row with each other.
She's not a party colleague.
Too true. Well, you don't have
so
former colleagues.
You're not going to take part in a programme with somebody who's going to be critical of you. Is that it?
I judge everything. No. I'm here with you, Vincent.
I don't think you expected me to ask the questions I've asked, and if you did,
I'm all too well aware of what an evening with Vincent Browne. I'm all too well aware what an evening with Vincent Browne on your news programme is all about. I'm pleased to be here.
I think Green Party members will be asking questions this weekend about the deal that they signed off on in the Mansion House. They weren't aware of this rotation deal. You know, to be fair to the Greens, they've built up huge political clout. They've been on a steep learning curve over these past couple of years. They've built up huge credibility. They're quite cool. They're clinical in the dealings they do. When this rotation deal came along, though, the word that frequently came to mind was bizarre. And a lot of people felt, is this the quirky Greens of old? And I think Brian Callan, looking at this spectacle before him in the last couple of weeks, he could either agree to it, go through with the spectacle of perhaps John Gormley stepping down, or give in to the second junior ministerial demand, even if it was going to cause bewilderment and unhappiness amongst his Fianna Fáil backbenchers. And I think it was quite perhaps a principled idea back in 2007, completely impractical in the times. If it was principled,
why weren't we talked about it? Usually people don't disguise their principles, they trumpet their principles.
And
if it was principled, why weren't we told about it?
They did have a precedent to point to.
The second junior, that was in the public domain, that was in the media at the time, so that did not come out of the blue. That was not kept.
But not your deal to play musical chairs with John Gormley.
Yeah.
Why wasn't that? If that was a principled arrangement, why weren't we told? And your stuff about stuff about the people would have been disconcerted by it. If people are going to be disconcerted about it, why do it?
I think
no, you do it in order to implement policy. And if you know that someone is leaving in 2 years, 2 months or 2 weeks, it makes it difficult to implement your policies.
Well, makes them a lame duck. You're a sitting duck.
Exactly.
Whether you're George Bush, Bertie Ahern or Tony...
You disguise a principle.
Well,
you have a principle and you don't tell anyone about it.
What sits uneasily for the Greens at this is that they've always prided themselves they are about policies, not the personalities.
Yeah.
Hence, for years, they didn't have a leader, and yet, for the last couple of weeks, it did become about personalities.
John, what do you make of all this?
I have to say it is a long-standing Green principle of rotation, but particularly for representatives. Certainly in the German Greens and other Green parties, they have tried in the 80s, when the first successful flowering of Green politics in Europe. There was certainly an enthusiasm for a different democratic culture, a lot more consensus. Certainly the Greens in Ireland even today probably is one of the most democratic organisations operating politically. And they do challenge, if you like, the culture that we have internally, very undemocratic organisations, political parties running our political system. But it is an evolution of this principle of representatives in a parliament to be rotated, partly on the basis of preventing power becoming consolidated in the same individuals and cliques developing. I mean, the reason for Greens having this rotation principle was a democratic imperative, but it is unusual to have it at that level of ministers, particularly given the degree of experience one would think that you would get and need as a party that's moved essentially from protest to power, and that's partly the dynamic that is underplaying here. Because you mentioned Patricia McKenna, it's certainly the case that she wouldn't be a party colleague of Ciaran's in terms of a member of the Green Party, but the Greens, and you need to take a wider view, is part of a Green movement from which they've developed very strong roots in civil society, in the community sector. So certainly while Patricia, for example, may not be a member of the party, she's certainly still a member of the movement, and certainly the Green Party is still a member of that movement.
That's why...
Well, that's a separate issue.
That's why Ciaran Cuffe shouldn't take part in the programme.
Well, that's a separate issue, but I'm trying to explain the dynamics in terms of the evolution of parties.
But if this is such a feature of Green Party policy, and they've done it successfully in Germany and all that, why weren't we told about it at the time? And the excuse that Ciaran Cuffe has given is remotely credible. So what's your view of this?
I can't speak, obviously, for Ciaran or for Trevor Sargent, who did the deal with the then Taoiseach Bertie Ahern. It is unusual to rotate ministers.
Yeah.
It certainly is an established Green principle to rotate representatives, and I don't know the reasons behind that.
And no, but my question is, you might think there's good reason to rotate ministers, and I can see good arguments in favour of that. But what I don't understand is, why not disclose it at the time? Can you think of... Can I'm asking John to help you now to come up with a credible explanation, because I don't think yours is.
Well, it is unusual, given that it's not just a policy-driven party, as Anya pointed out, but the Greens are also a values-driven party, very much based on democracy and transparency.
Transparency.
And I have to say, one response to the view that this was just jobs for the boys or girl in this case, is that Trevor Sargent went with utmost dignity. And if it was a case that the Greens were only in power for the jobs, he would have said doggedly on, as Willie O'D did. But to go back to the question you asked me, it is odd in a way that this, if it was an issue that was done and the members went to the vote with it, I don't know why that wasn't told to the members of that convention in June 2007.
Brian Cowan. There's obviously some people in Fianna Fáil are unhappy with Brian Cowan's leadership. Given his culpability for the banking crisis and the economic crisis, would you welcome change?
No, I think Brian Cowan is doing the right thing at the right time. I think we need stability. Of course, I'd be critical of decisions that were made by the last government. I think the Green Party, since in my 28 years in the party, we have